African politics this week is less about governance and more about endurance of dynasties, of absurdity, and everyone's patience. In Togo, Marguerite Nakade discovered the first law of family politics. Loyalty is only valid until it threatens power. Once a defense minister and symbol of progress, she is now a cautionary tale, arrested for suggesting that a brother-in-law might not need to be president forever. In Togo, even blood cannot protect you from the imagination of paranoia. Ask too many questions, align with youthful reformists, or mention the word transition, and suddenly the rivers and prisons become the final punctuation marks of your career. Family dinners are no longer safe spaces. They are auditions in a political theater where dissent is always a disqualifier. Tanzania, meanwhile, has turned opposition into extreme sport. Tundu Lissu faces charges that could cost him his life for remarks prosecutors claim disrupted elections. Words, not weapons. Speech, not sabotage. Yet the country marches towards elections as if democracy is an accessory, not a right. The ruling CCM allows token competitors, small parties, compliant candidates like stage props in a coronation masquerading as competition. Now over in Guinea, Mamadi Doumbouya has perfected political disguise. A referendum promises to rewrite the constitution, extend presidential terms, and introduce institutions no one asked for, while quietly ensuring Doumbouya himself can run. Opposition leaders are exiled, media is suppressed, and the electorate is asked to vote on formalizing its own irrelevance. Participation becomes ritual, legality becomes theater, and permanence becomes the prize. Stability here means no competition, no questions, and absolutely no surprises for the ruling elite. Chad is the final lesson in term limit creativity. Mohamed Idris Deby inherits power, neutralizes opposition, extends terms, and oversees a parliament where unanimity is the only vote counted. Elections exist only to confirm the obvious. The presidency is a renewable resource, and public opinion is a decor item. Ordinary citizens endure protests turned funerals, constitutional amendments as masks, and dynastic ambition presented as inevitability. Here, hope is a luxury and permanence is mandatory. Tonight on Second Take, we travel through these four countries, not simply to observe, but to understand a pattern. Power in Africa has become a performance. Dissent is criminalized rehearsal, and constitutions are stage props. Family, law, elections, they exist only to remind citizens how far rulers will go to secure their place. Join us as we trace the absurd, the ironic, and the dangerously clever ways permanence masquerades as governance, and why, in this theater, everyone else is auditioning for survival. My name is Ashwin Bedi. Welcome to Second Take. Marguerite Nakade, sister-in-law to President Faure Gnassingbé, has managed to prove what every Togolese citizen already suspected. Even blood ties are not enough to protect you when you question the dynasty. Arrested in a Lome home, Nakade's fall from being defense minister and widow of Ernest Nyasimbe to political prisoner in waiting is the kind of family drama that would make Nollywood directors jealous, except this script ends not in reconciliation, but in prison sentences that can stretch up to 20 years. Her crime? Asking her brother-in-law to leave office. That's it. She didn't rob the treasury. She didn't launder money through foreign banks. She didn't even call him a bad cook. No, her crime was urging a transition, aligning herself with youth movements like M66 and calling out the obvious, that Togo's presidential seat has become more permanent than Mount Kilimanjaro. Authorities accuse her of inciting rebellion within the military and colluding with exiled opposition figures, which is a convenient accusation because in Togo, anyone who disagrees with the regime automatically becomes a foreign agent, a traitor, or worse, a bad sister-in-law. Look, it's the same recycled excuse across the continent. If you oppose me, you must be working for outsiders. The only thing more consistent than this excuse is the regime's denial of responsibility for the corpses pulled out of rivers after protests. But the story runs deeper. Nakade was once the shining symbol of gender inclusion, one of the first women to hold a defense portfolio in the country. She stood next to generals, cut ribbons at military ceremonies, and smiled through speeches about progress. Now, she is accused of trying to destabilize the same military she once led. It's the kind of irony African politics produces with depressing regularity. Yesterday's pioneer becomes today's traitor, depending on how loudly she criticizes the ruling family. The backdrop here is a population increasingly tired of dynastic rule. Deadly protests earlier this year against constitutional reforms, allowing Foreign Nyasibe to extend his grip, left bodies in rivers and streets scarred with blood. Movements like Touche pas à ma constitution condemned the crackdown, only to be smeared as enemies of peace. Citizens now whisper what they cannot shout, that in Togo, peace means silence, and silence means survival. And then there is the judiciary, the final hammer of the dynasty. Judges are already hinting at long prison terms, leaking whispers of 20 years to journalists as if testing the public's appetite for cruelty. The idea of an independent judiciary is treated like folklore, something elders talk about but no one has actually seen. So Nakade sits awaiting her fate, a reminder that in Togo, family loyalty is only valid until it threatens power. You can share blood, you can share dinner, but never share ideas about transition. Here we go!
Hi, welcome to We Talk, your weekly hub for inspiring stories and community highlights. In Talk of the Town, we bring you the latest news from Windhoek and the surrounding towns. Need weekend plans? The We Chill segment has the coolest and best events lined up for you. For all the foodies, We Dine explores the hottest dining spots, and for We Do Business, we celebrate the inspiring entrepreneurs. Finally, We Care celebrates the heroes making a difference in their communities. So don't forget to catch We Talk every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25.
We now move on to Tanzania, also known as Tanganyika. Tanzania's opposition has been blocked so many times they may as well start holding rallies inside police stations. Just, to save everyone the transport money. Just go where we know you're going. The latest installment of this democratic circus has been Tundu Lissu facing treason charges that carry the death penalty. Yes, death. For remarks prosecutors say encouraged election disruption. Remarks, not bombs, words, not weapons. But in a country that claims to be heading for elections, words have become deadlier than bullets. Lisu has been in custody since April, denied dismissal of his trial, and dragged through courtrooms where the outcome seems less about justice and more about choreography. His Chadema party, the largest opposition force, was barred from elections months ago. And to that, the disqualification of Luhaga Mpina, presidential candidate of ACT, was a lendo, and suddenly the ballot looks like a one-woman show. President Samia Suluhu Hassan is left facing competition from tiny parties whose campaigns have the same impact as shouting into the wind. The ruling CCM is clever enough not to call it a one-party state. Instead, it dresses up the stage with small, manageable opponents, politicians who can attend debates, wave banners, but never threaten actual power. Tanzania is a movie where everyone gets a role, as long as the script guarantees that CCM finishes first. Rights groups have sounded the alarm. In June, UN experts urged Tanzania, Samia Suluhu's government, to stop enforced disappearances of opposition members, human rights defenders, and journalists. They warned that shrinking press freedoms make the elections meaningless. You know, I admire human rights groups. They have the ability to assume everyone cares about what they care about. Who in the world said CCM cares if the elections are meaningless or not? They drew the race parameters so that they could cross the finish line first, by any means necessary. The real tragedy is the normalization of this. Tanzanians, battered by years of Magufuli's iron hand and Samia's velvet repression, now joke that opposition parties should campaign by telepathy, since public rallies inevitably lead to tear gas. Political space has been suffocated so thoroughly that dissenters must choose between prison and exile, with many choosing the latter. And still, the regime maintains its international charm. Donors smile, investors nod, and global partners hail Tanzania's stability. No one asks why stability always seems to mean the ruling party never loses. The hypocrisy is clear. An opposition leader can be sentenced to death for words, while the government wins praise abroad for its reformist tone. The October elections are already shaping up to be a coronation disguised as competition. And if history is any guide, those who raise their voices too loudly may join the long list of disappeared names filed away under national security. We're going to take a break before we come back and talk about Guinea and the referendum masquerade.
Do you like traveling?
Do you like to experience new places?
Well, then you should tune into On the Rock, where we explore enjoy establishments all over Namibia and South Africa. Great food, great fun, and so much more. So be sure to mark your calendar as we explore the beautiful landscapes of Namibia at the various enjoy establishments.
And where we also get to go on game drives, different activities, and meet the awesome staff of the different establishments.
We will see you there. Watch On the Rocks every Monday at 9 p.m. on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV.
We move on to Guinea. Guinea has discovered the perfect recipe for staying in power. Call a referendum, change the constitution, and repeat until people stop asking questions. Today, voters have been asked to approve a new constitution that conveniently allows junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya to run for president, despite his earlier promises not to. The same constitution extends presidential terms from 5 to 7 years, renewable once, and introduces a Senate no one asks for. This is like promising a girl that you just want to be friends, and then proposing to her the next time you hang out. Doumbouya's silence on his own candidacy is the loudest statement in Conakry. Everyone knows he plans to run. The only ones pretending otherwise are his spokespeople, who insist the process is about stability. Stability in Guinea has come to mean whatever keeps the junta in place. Opposition leader Selou Delaine Diallo, speaking from exile, has urged Guineans to boycott the vote, calling it a masquerade. He's not wrong. Opposition parties remain suspended, their offices closed, their campaigns illegal. How do you run a referendum with no opposition? Easy. You run it like a school exam where the teacher hands out the answers in advance. Human Rights Watch has accused the government of disappearing political opponents and suspending media. Authorities, of course, deny it. They say everything is legal, everything is transparent, everything is stable. Which is precisely why 6.7 million Guineans are being invited to vote on whether they'd like to formalize their own disenfranchisement. The missed deadline for civilian rule, December 2024, has been quietly replaced by a December presidential election under the new rules. A sleight of hand so brazen it deserves applause. Promise democracy, delay it, then rewrite the rules to ensure you win when it finally happens. Guinea's referendum is not about the future. It's about dressing up the past with new legal clothes. And if the Constitution passes, Domboya will stride out in sunglasses, declaring victory for the people. While the people wonder how long 7 years really is when you're waiting for democracy that may never come.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Hi, welcome to We Talk, your weekly hub for inspiring stories and community highlights. In Talk of the Town, we bring you the latest news from Windhoek and the surrounding towns. Need weekend plans? The We Chill segment has the coolest and best events lined up for you. For all the foodies, We Dine explores the hottest dining spots, and for We Do Business, we celebrate the inspiring entrepreneurs. Finally, We Care celebrates the heroes making a difference in their communities. So don't forget to catch We Talk every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel.
Are you curious as to what is driving the cars world? Well, we are bringing you into the world of cars. Tech, trends, road trips, and the stories behind the wheels. It's fun, it's fast, and it's full of surprises. This is your ultimate cars companion. You can catch My.NA Cars every Thursday at 9 p.m. with me, your favorite passenger princess, Diana Master, because it's not just about the ride, it's about the journey.
We move to Chad, where a president never has an expiry date. Yes, Chad has also decided that presidential terms should be like powdered milk, long-lasting, and like I said, never expiring. Parliament has voted to extend terms from 5 to 7 years and, more importantly, to scrap term limits altogether. For Mohammed Idris Deby, who inherited power after his father's death in 2021, this is the jackpot, a blank check of time. The numbers are telling. Out of 172 lawmakers, 171 voted in favor, 1 abstained, and none opposed. It's the kind of consensus only possible in parliaments where opposition is a word in the dictionary, not a presence in the chamber. A Senate vote is scheduled, but everyone already knows the outcome. Deby will sign it, smile for the cameras, and Chad will slide further down the slope of dynasty politics. 3 years of military rule ended with disputed elections in May 2024, followed by parliamentary polls that delivered a rubber stamp assembly. Opposition leader Success Masrao, once a serious challenger, is now serving 20 years in prison. That clears the field nicely. No challenges, no limits, and apparently no shame. Analysts have called this entrenchment, but That's too polite. This is embalming, political preservation designed to keep one family in power indefinitely. Debbie Jr. isn't innovating, he's recycling his father's playbook, page for page. Ordinary Chadians are exhausted. They bury their hopes alongside the protesters shot in the streets, while their leaders bury the Constitution under amendments. The promise of a transition has been replaced by the permanence of rule. And in a country rich in oil but poor in everything else, the joke is bitter. The only renewable resource in Chad is the presidency. We are bringing to you In the Mix Africa, broadening our perspective, focusing on African players playing in Europe, playing in Africa, the inner workings of their craft, every single little thing. And also, very importantly, tasting African food with Patty. Are you ready for that?
Of course, we're going to broaden up our taste palettes and we're going to take it to the whole of Africa. We're not just going to stick here in Namibia. Of course, it's important to also appreciate Namibian culture and food, but we're going to broaden it up, like you say, and we're going to try everything.
That's right. So join us as we take you beyond borders for the love of sport with In the Mix Africa.
Don't miss Tourism's Namibia, your ultimate guide to the latest in travel and tourism. We explore breathtaking destinations across Namibia, keep you updated on the latest news in the industry, and we focus on an interesting topic in Namibia and beyond its borders. Don't miss our program every Sunday at 6 p.m. in Namibia on our DSTV channel 285, our GoTV channel 25, and you can also stream it online on our website oneup2.com/ntv.
So, from Togo's dynastic arrests to Tanzania's lethal trials, from Guinea's constitutional masquerades to Chad's endless rule, one lesson is clear. Africa's problem is not the absence of democracy, but the endless recycling of its betrayal. Constitutions are shredded, protests are criminalized, sovereignty is redefined, and family loyalty dissolves the moment it challenges power. The cynicism writes itself. We live in systems where rulers fear elections more than famine, where funerals become rallies, and where sovereignty is defended most loudly when it's already been sold abroad. The joke isn't on them, it's on us, because the absurd has become the ordinary, and the ordinary is becoming unbearable for many. My name is Ashwin Betty, and if you have a dictator, we hope that he or she does not get a second take. Good night.